Congress will return to Washington next month, well behind schedule on their obligation to fund the government. Tonight, Erie News Now Washington, D.C. correspondent Brendan Scanlon is joining us live on Capitol Hill. So, Brendan, could we see a shutdown this fall if lawmakers don't reach an agreement?
Hey there, Eva. Good evening. Well, the short answer is yes. However, the much more likely option is that Congress would probably approve another short-term funding measure, given the really tight deadline that they're going to be faced with upon returning here. And that short-term spending measure would essentially maintain the current levels of funding that have been in place since the Biden administration. The countdown is on. Just weeks remain before lawmakers must act to keep the government's lights on past September 30th. Some Republicans want to power through new full-year spending bills for 2026. However, appropriators are far behind after spending much of the year working to pass the president's one big, beautiful bill.
Because of reconciliation, we're a little bit behind. We may not get to appropriations this year. It might end up being a CR. Where we have flat funding for another year.
Although not ideal, some Republicans, including Nick Langworthy, say another continuing resolution, or CR, could be inevitable in order to keep the government open while lawmakers seek a broader spending deal.
It doesn't allow for administrative priorities. It doesn't allow us to pivot our priorities as a Congress. We'll be stuck at the Biden level of spending.
It's a very tough process. As much as people say, well, Congress controls the purse strings, yes, to a degree. But getting these projects done is very, very complicated.
You control everything, the House, the Senate, and the presidency. What's your strategy? Right now, they can't even agree amongst themselves.
CRs have become more common in recent decades, essentially now the norm to avoid government shutdowns.
Continuing resolution should be viewed as a failure in budgeting.
Budget policy analyst Dominic Lett says Congress is failing to complete one of its most important obligations.
We should be making the kind of tough decisions to reduce spending and make changes to spending, not kind of just holding previous year spending flat plus inflation, plus the various sort of gimmies that Congress always adds on to these sort of packages.
And Eva, one of the big caveats here is that Republicans will actually need support from Democrats to meet that 60-vote threshold in the Senate in order to approve any new spending bills. And that could potentially provide Democrats with an opportunity to win some concessions like clean energy tax credits or other priorities. Depending on how those negotiations go could determine whether Congress is able to find some common ground or if the country is on track for yet another showdown here on Capitol Hill. Reporting live in Washington for Erie News Now, I'm Brendan Scanlon.